We're going to give a real quick overview. The first thing we're going to do is cover an executive overview of this project, where we came from, where we're going, and how it can help you benefit in your projects. This, unfortunately, is what we have today here in the city of Austin. And your plan might be in there somewhere. It also might be in one of the other 11 partner departments that we work with in our development process. And here's some of the partner departments that we have right now, including Austin Energy, Fire, Transportation, Austin Water, and everyone else you can see on the screen. The key business areas in which the E-Plan Review project will be functioning is, of course, in the land use, utility coordination, and, of course, the building plan review. And that does encompass residential and commercial building plans. If you notice down here at the bottom of the screen, we also will be incorporating Travis, Hayes, and Williamson counties by the end of the summer of 2016. Your initial point of entry for any development project in the city is going to be the Austin Build and Connect portal, abc.austintexas.gov. That will be your single point of entry for every development project throughout the city from now on. We're doing this in a phased approach, and I'll get to the timeline here in a little while. But the whole point of this is to simplify the application process for everyone. So no longer will you have to shuttle between departments. One application here, a different application there, the same application for another department over here, and then try and coordinate all that yourself and make sure that you have the right sets of plans to the right people at the right time. And you've got to pay different fees here and different fees over there, and you want to make sure you have the right plan set over here, and do I have this form? All that now is simplified by having a single point of entry online. So you do an online application, online payments more importantly. Right now we've got debit and credit cards and e-checks functioning. We will be incorporating escrow accounts electronically eventually. And then once you do your application, you do your payment, then you'll also be able to submit your plans electronically through a new application we have called Project Docs. And then you'll get your final approved stamp set plans back electronically, and then you can go build it. This is an E-Plan Review project, so at the moment, here in early 2016, it currently does not encompass permitting or inspections. That will be a project for down the road. So what is Project Docs? It allows us to upload documents, plans, certifications, anything that's required in the development process so that we can do an electronic plan review. Also, electronic approval. So when your plans get stamped, they'll be stamped as a flattened PDF with the seal of Austin's approved stamp burned right into that copy. Now this application called Project Docs was created by a company called Evolve Software, and it is the #1 electronic plan review application in North America. It's used in 140 cities and municipalities throughout the US and Canada. And the really important part about this is that since it is a web-based application, it's available 24/7, but it allows collaboration amongst the reviewers. And it also allows better collaboration between the reviewers and the applicant community so that we can do your reviews much faster, much more comprehensively, share all of that information between all of the reviewers at the same time, and then get those comments back to you so you can make whatever revisions or corrections you need and then get them back to us whenever it is convenient for you. Of course, this will encompass online payments, so during the revision process or the correction process, there will be fees that will accrue at different points, and you can pay those at the Austin Build and Connect portal. And as I said, there will be multiple cycles of submission and resubmission and uploading of documents, certified letters, engineers' reports, all that kind of stuff can be uploaded directly into the Project Docs application. And what's really nice is this helps us, the city, manage version control, file history for the entire life cycle of the project. And it also provides both the reviewers and the applicants a complete electronic trail and audit history of the entire project. Now, here's a real quick overview of what a typical workflow solution might look like. Now, depending on what application type it is, whether it's a building plan or some kind of a land use plan, it may use one, two, or all three of these various review cycles. So typically, applicants will go to Austin Building Connect portal, abc.austintexas.gov. They'll fill out their online application, pay whatever upfront necessary fees are required, and then they'll get an invitation from Project Docs to come in and upload your plans. Once our intake has reviewed your application and verified that it is, let's say you're applying for a building and you are submitting building plans and not, your grandma's recipe for apple pie, they will accept that into the review process. So it will go through a prerequisite review cycle. And typically that might mean that it goes from health, fire, it might go to industrial waste, it might go to Austin Energy. But the intake process is here in development services. So no longer will you have to schlep between all these different departments with all your different forms and stuff. There's one point of entry. You upload all of your forms, all of your documentation, all in one place. And then all of the reviewers, regardless of their department, get to look at it all at the same time. So it makes it really convenient for applicants. They now have one point to deliver all their stuff. So it'll go through a prerequisite review cycle. And the reason it's called a prerequisite review is because those are all in different time frames. For instance, health might have 10 days. Industrial waste might have 28 days. TAPS might have 31 days to review something. So those are all different days, so they all happen at different time frames. And that could go through several cycles of rejection and approval and corrections. Once that prerequisite review cycle is finished, and again, depending on what type of application it is, if it's a land use type of project, whether it's a site plan, a subdivision, or whatnot, it might go through a completeness check process, and that has its own set of fees and its own mandated time frame. And again, that could cycle through as long as it takes, of course, until it expires, until it's approved, and then it would go into formal. Now, formal review, we are mandated, depending again on the application type, whether it's 21 days, 14 days, 7 days, 2 days for a formal review. It's mandated by the city code, so we have to make that plan work. So that's why we have separated now the different departments, because everyone's on different time frames. So the formal review in a building, let's say, would be mechanical, electrical, plumbing, the energy envelope for the building, those sorts of things. So that formal review cycle happens, and again, it could go through many iterations of revisions and corrections until it finally gets approved. Once those have been approved, then it goes into the case manager or the plan coordinator's hands. They get to stamp it, and like I said earlier, there is a burned seal for the city of Austin that's flattened into that PDF that says approved, and it has the date stamp on it. And then you will get an invitation from Project Docs to come and download your approved set of plans. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are right now not encompassing the permitting section of this, nor the inspections portion of this. However, down the road, we know that that's going to happen. So our inspectors will be getting tablets, so they'll be able to look at the approved set of plans on their tablet at your job site, and they compare it with the plan set that you print out for your foreman that they can build from, and they can look at the as-built. And there's a lot of other stuff that can happen there, make corrections, revisions on the as-built, and then we can document that. They can mark it up in the field, and then if it's needed, we can restamp it and then make that the archived final copy. And again, all of the stuff, like I said, it's an audit trail that's throughout the life cycle of the project, so this is always available online to registered users at the Austin Build and Connect portal, so you can log in and look at your project. And then, of course, since Austin is an open city, once the project is approved, those plans would be pushed out to the public viewable site. So here's our project timeline. General permits for telecom went live in May of 2015. The first building type that we're going to launch this month, February of 2016, is banks and professional buildings. And then the remaining commercial types are going to be executed in the next month or two. And then we're going to roll right after that right into residential volume builders in the spring time frame. And then the rest of the residential buildings will be done in the spring and summer throughout the rest of this year. The development assistants will follow right on their heels, and then site plans and subdivisions will be the last group to go in the fall of 2016. So the goal here is that by the end of 2016, everything that needs to be done in development planning and construction will be done electronically here in the city of Austin. And that's pretty awesome. All right, now we're going to get into a little bit more on what the application itself is. So allow me to change screens here real quick. This is the home page. Let me start with the actual front page. This is what it normally looks like when you come into e-plan review. When you get your email invitation for the first time, it will include a link to this site. It will also include a temporary password for registered users, so that when you log in for the first time using that temporary password, it will take you to your profile page, will allow you to create your permanent password and your forgot password question. So you come in here and you can log in, enter your email and your password, and then log in. So if you want to see what that looks like in different browsers, and we'll cover browser requirements here in a little bit, but it looks kind of the same, but the other browser I had was Firefox, and now we have it in Internet Explorer. And you see now that there's a box down here at the bottom that wasn't there before. And that's a really key difference. Project Docs requires Internet Explorer version 10 or above. And that's really critical because there's a lot of functionality that disappears if you do not use Internet Explorer. It's like what I just showed you in Firefox, for example. This box here didn't appear. You can use Chrome, you can use Safari, you can use Firefox for some things for e-plan review. However, to get the full functionality, the full use and benefit of e-plan review, you really do have to use Internet Explorer. Now, if you're using IE for the first time with Project Docs, there are a couple of components that need to be downloaded. And right now, those are ActiveX and optionally Silverlight. Now, we understand that Silverlight is no longer supported by Microsoft, so that is going away. The current version that we're on right now of Project Docs is version 8.3. We are going to be upgrading to a new version, which is, for the internet savvy people, HTML5 compatible. So Silverlight will no longer be required. Today, even today in 8.3, it's optional. It just makes the uploading of your plans a lot simpler and easier if you have Silverlight. So if you want to download the Silverlight plugin along with the ActiveX plugin, you can. You don't have to download the Silverlight, or if it's not compatible, if you're on a Mac or something, for instance, you don't have to download the Silverlight plugin, but it does make things a little simpler and easier. Okay, there's a couple of other things that we'll get into. Let me go ahead and show you the actual login page. So here we have our project's home page. You can see we have it branded E-Plan Review at the City of Austin. We've got a nice picture of our skylight up here. This is my active projects list. So I have a couple of projects sitting right here. And this is my task list. So these are all the tasks that I am assigned. And as you can tell up here, I'm actually logged in as intake. So we have an intake person that's logged in here. And just to show you what it looks like in another browser, this is Chrome. So I have an applicant logged in here. And just for the sake of this presentation today, I've created multiple logins with different permissions and rights and roles. And I've used each browser for that different role so you can get a feel for what it might look like in a different browser. So you can see there is quite a bit of difference in what it looks like in Chrome than it does in Firefox, for instance. Although we still have our active projects list and then our active tasks list. And right now I'm obviously in the testing and training environment, so a lot of the projects that you see here are just there for testing and training purposes. So you, as an applicant, this is what you would typically see. So let me go through the navigation real quick. Let me back up and start with project creation. So what you're going to do is you're first going to come to your Austin Building Connect portal. As I said, it's abc.austintexas.gov, and that'll take you right to your Austin Building Connect portal. Now, if you don't have a registered user account with the city already, you can create one here. If you are, you can just go ahead and log in to your registered user account, and then you can create a new project. And like I said earlier, we are rolling this out by application type. As I said, we have general permits are already online. Commercial is going next. Residential, the Development Assistance Center will be after them, and then site plan and subdivision by the end of the year. So we will be rolling out different pieces of the application types as we go along. So obviously this is a phased approach. So if you don't see your application there yet, stay tuned, it will be coming. So you'd come into your Austin Building Connect, you'd log in, and then you'd go through the application process. You'd fill out all of the questions that are on the application, then you do your payments. And again, as I said earlier, right now that's e-check and credit and debit cards. So you can make your payments, and then your project gets created in our case management system, and then it's also mirrored in our e-plan review application called Project Docs. That's when you get the invitation. So you can see here that we currently have our applicant webinar training project, and I've already staged this to make this presentation go a lot faster. So I have already uploaded a single drawing, and there are other couple of change mark reports, and that's basically your comment report. So I've staged this a little bit just to make this go a little bit faster. So this is what your entry looks like when you actually click on a project. Now I can go back to our project's homepage just to give you an idea of what this is going to look like. So this button here, this is our navigation section up here in our menu bar. I can go, just as a regular browser, I can go back and forward within the projects. So I can click on all projects and see all the projects that I personally, as Christopher.applicant, have been assigned. And you can see the count down here. There's 4 pages, so there's 58 total projects that this user has been associated with. Now, if I haven't been associated with a project, I can't see it. If I haven't been invited to a project, either by my team members, my applicant team members, or by someone in the city sending me an invitation to that project as an applicant, then I'll never be able to see it. And that protects the applicant's projects so that only people who are invited by the applicant or create the original project as the applicant would have access to that. And then you have your scroll bars down here. You can just page through all the different projects. So this is the project we're going to be working with today. This is your information button. This is a notes and topics and a team email button. And this is a description of the project. Typically, in our environment, we'll have the case number and what we call the folder RSN. It's the unique identifier that our case management system uses to reach out and touch that particular project. and then we'll use the address as the description. The owner in this case is not you, it's not the applicant, it's not the general contractor, it's the person who created the project for us here in the city, and that's typically our system. And then it has a status, and then the date it was actually created. Now these are all sortable columns, so I can sort by status, and as you'll see there's a bunch of different types of statuses, and we'll cover those as we go throughout the training. And I can hit the next page, and there's a project we highlighted earlier, and here's the creation date. I can also sort by creation date. So if I do have a lot of projects, like this, I've got 58 projects, and I want to find the one I'm really interested in, I can use these columns up here at the top. I can sort by project name or by description to find what I need very, very quickly. And if I need to, I can use the back button to go back to my original page, or I can go forward back to where I just came from. By clicking the projects button, it just takes you back to this page. So if I'm anywhere else, so just for the sake of testing, I drill down into this project, I can hit the project button, and it takes me back to my home page. This is the refresh or reload button. Typically, if you're sitting on a screen and there's a lot of stuff that's happening, statuses might be changing, notes are being created, markups are being done, stuff's being uploaded, you can always hit the reload or the refresh button, and that will refresh your screen so that any changes that you've just made can be reflected on your screen. We also have an advanced search button, and then we have a quick search button. So I'm here, and the search button, I can type applicant, or just the first few letters of the word, and it brings up everything that I have in all 58 projects with those letters in it. And there's the project that we want. And of course, there's a help function, which is really, really critical. We also have the applicant training guide, which is available on the Austin Build and Connect. We also have a chat function that's available on Austin Build and Connect, and also available through Project Docs for technical support during regular City of Austin business hours. It's Monday through Friday, 7:45 to 4:45 p.m., excluding city holidays, of course. So if you do have a question or you have an issue and it's outside those hours, you can leave a message using our chat function on the Austin Build and Connect portal with our technical support team, and they will get back to you at the next business day. Or you can click this help button, and this is really cool. This is a standard Windows-based help function, but it has all the help on using the Project Docs application. And it functions just like you're used to with other Microsoft type search help indexes. You can do an index over here, or you can do a quick search. So it's your typical help documentation. And this covers absolutely everything about Project Docs. If you want to see your task list, you can just hit this. It brings up in a separate window. It's just the same as down here. Just gives you another opportunity to bring up all of the tasks that you have been assigned. And if you have archived any projects, then you can click on those over there. All right. So let's go into your task list. There's two ways you can actually open up a task. As you can tell, these are all hyperlinks. So I can actually drill into the project itself by clicking on its name here in my task list, or I can actually just click on the task in my task list, or I just want to click on the project name up here. So this is our project info screen, and it looks a little bit different than what we saw here on the project info. On the options screen, you'll see here, there's also that blue information button. Okay, this is a little bit more detailed information about your project. Again, the owner, that would be me in this case since I created it, the address, which I put in at the creation of the project, and then the contact. This is the topics and notes button. Right now it's white because there are no topics and notes associated to this project. If I wanted to, I could just click a topic. And this is really good for communicating your needs, your requests, your desires, your questions to the reviewers. Because everything that happens, as I said earlier, that happens in a project is captured within that project, so there's a complete audit trail. So if I want to just, hey, I have a question about my project. Okay, it's the Waller Creek project. As you can tell, I'm a really great typist. So how much water is there in the Waller Creek project? So I can save this as a topic and note, and then the reviewers would see this, or I can send it as a team email. I'll cover that here in a second, but for right now, let me just hit save. So now it's been successfully added, so I can close this window. And you see, this hasn't changed color yet, so let's go here and try our reload button, and boom, there it is. Now it's turned yellow to indicate that now there is a topic that's been associated with this project. And that would communicate back to the reviewers that, hey, there's a question, there's a topic, or a note. There's also team email. So I type in the subject of my team mail, and I type in whatever the message is that I want to convey. And then I can look at all these different groups. Now these are all of the groups that are attached to my project. There's AE ESPA design, there's your own applicant team, Austin Water, TAPS, commercial building, and then all the other groups that are associated with this particular project at the moment. And I can expand these and then pick an individual person and send it directly to them. Or if I wanted to, and use this sparingly, because not everybody is going to be looking at your project. Which brings up another question that applicants have had is, can I choose my reviewer? The answer is no. Unfortunately, you cannot choose your reviewer. Reviewers are going to be assigned by their managers or by their individual independent workload. So if they have time in their calendar, they will reach out and they will grab a particular project. So I can hit send. Oh, I have to actually put somebody in the group. And I'll just go ahead and send it to myself. So my email has now been sent. And it's sent within the project. So everything that I've just typed is now captured within that project. So there's a complete audit trail of everything that transpires within that project. So let's go ahead now and open up the actual project itself. We can dive right in. So this is your project homepage. So over here you see all the list of different folders that you as an applicant would have access to. You have your submitted drawings, which obviously are your plans. You have your submitted documents, which would be like Word docs, other PDFs, engineers reports, anything except a spreadsheet. Pretty much you can upload there. Shared documentation. Now this folder is for things that the reviewers would like you to see. For instance, if they have an image file that they would like you to look at and say, hey, your project needs to look a little bit something like this, or you might want to use this type of device in your project, something like that. They would upload them there. There's another place where they can upload perhaps sections of relevant code that are perhaps too lengthy to put into a comment report. They can extract that as a PDF, upload it here, and then make that available to you. And then the changemark report. The changemark report is the new name for your master comment report. And what we're doing in this change mark report, and we'll get into what the change marks are here in a little bit, and we'll go through the review cycle. But that's a note, a markup, a balloon, something on your drawing that indicates that a change is requested. And that comes back to you, so that gets actually burned right into the plan set that you get back electronically. So you can see that at a glance, there's a circle around this thing, and maybe there's a little note that's attached that says, hey, this needs to move over 3 feet or something like that. So we'll cover that in a little bit more depth here in a little bit. So what you have here again is your project info page. So it gives you a little bit more information about this project, who the administrators are, the start and end date. There's also a bunch of reports that you as the applicants have access to. And as soon as it finishes loading, we'll show you what those are. The workflow routing slip. This is a really important report for you as an applicant. Rather than calling or emailing the reviewer or the case manager or the case coordinator or even the intake person to say, hey, where is my project? Who's got it? What's going on with it? You now have the power to click on the workflow routing slip. Right now, nothing has happened in the workflow, so this would be blank, so it would be kind of useless to bring it up. But this will tell you who's got the ball. Which reviewer is actually reviewing your particular project, what the current when they grabbed it off their task list, what their current status is, any comments that they may have made up to that point, which again are just temporary, they're not permanent until the change mark report is actually published. When they finished it, if they have completed it. So it'll show what the current status is, whether it's accepted or rejected, and when they did it and how long it took them to do it. So there's a lot of really good information in that workflow routing slip. And as we go through this mini workflow here real quick, I can bring that up later. It also shows you all the different users that are assigned to a particular group. It shows you a list of all of the files that have been uploaded, when the files have been viewed, all that kind of stuff. As I said, there's a complete audit trail. So this is available to you 24/7, so you can find out the exact details of your project whenever you need to. All right, so let's look over here again at our folders listing. So you see here that in our submitted drawings folder, we have one file and one new file. And basically what that means is there's only one file that's loaded, and one new file has been added in the last 3 days. After 3 days, they're no longer new, and it'll just show the total number of files. That also applies to versioning, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So we can go ahead and open up our drawings folder. And right now, as I said, there's only one in there. So you as an applicant, when you get your invitation, this is what you'll do. You'll come in, you'll open up your task. So first you accept your task, then you'll do your task. So let me go back to our task list here so I can show you what that's like again. I click on workflow portals to see all my tasks. There is my task. So I can actually open this up. So it asks for confirmation. Do I want to accept this task? I say yes. And again, this is Google Chrome, just so you get an idea what this might look like in a different browser. Now this window that's just opened up is called an e-form. That's what we call it. There's a lot of information on here. Again, this is a test and training environment, so a lot of the fields have been left blank. But here's your activity instructions. After you have successfully uploaded all the required plans and documents, please click the Upload Complete button down here at the bottom. Okay? So here's some information on the permit, just basic stuff, again, from the project information tab that you saw at the very beginning. Contact information, this would be you. The owner, of course, is our web portal, which created the project. Resources. Now this is really important. This is a quick reference of, right now it's just 16, but we will be adding this as we get requests to have hot links built into your eForm. So right now we have Austin Water and Wastewater hot link. We have a hot link to the Texas government code, the local muni code. Here's the ePlan support homepage. Now this is really important. This is where you would go if you have technical questions. So I can click on this and it'll pop up another window. This is our help desk. There's also an FAQ, and there's staff knowledge, and then there's also a bunch of other files and stuff that you can look at. So if you do have a question, you can come in here and do a search for whatever question that you might have. And if it's on here, hopefully you can get your answer right away. If it's not, then there's another feature on here where you can sign in and you can create another support ticket. And that would basically send a help desk ticket to our development services technical staff team. And then they'll be able to get back to you, again, like I said earlier, during regular business hours. Again, as I said earlier, when you do your upload, you pay your fee. You're only paying the current development services fee for whatever that application fee is. There's no other fees or anything associated with using Project Docs. It's a browser-based application. Or help desk, the Austin Build and Connect portal, those are all browser-based applications, so obviously there's no fee for actually using those. So you, as an applicant, you don't have to download any software to your PC. It doesn't require any special software to run this. It's just a browser. Obviously, except for the ActiveX plugin, which again, those are all free. So let me reopen my my eForm. All right, so there's the resources tab, and if there's a checklist that's associated with your project, it'll appear there. Obviously, there's 0 right now. And then the routing slip. This will tell you that we're in cycle 0. We're at the applicant upload task, which is yours. You've accepted the task. Here's when you did it and who it's assigned to. So as the life cycle of this project develops, every single task that occurs will be documented here. And you can see that as it progresses. Now, one of the other nice things, as I said earlier, you can have an applicant team. Right now, I, as Chris Applicant, have accepted this task. If I happen to be in a work group and this project has come back for corrections, and I'm not the one responsible for actually making the corrections, I can return it to the rest of the group. And everyone else that I have invited to this group by putting their name and their email address in here, I can add them to my group right here. So as an applicant, let's say I have a general contractor, I've got the designer, the developer, the architect, I all want them to be part of my team. I can invite them to my team right here. And then if I have to send it back to my architect, I can just assign it directly to my architect, or I can just let it go back to the group and let whoever is available in that group. Let's say I have an architectural firm and they've got 6 people working on my project. I can send it back to their generic group and let them decide which individual wants to grab that task, and then just click the reassign button there. So that's what your eForm looks like. So I haven't actually done anything yet on my project, so I'm going to hit save and close. Now, save and close just means I'm not done yet. I'm going to save this for later. I'm going to come back. So I've accepted my task. Now I actually have to do my task. So I'd come up here and I click the Upload Files button. This is where you would upload all your files. Okay. Now, again, this is Chrome, so there's no Silverlight upload feature here, so it's just single files at a time. Again, this makes it much more complicated. I can show you what it looks like in another browser, just so you get the idea of what it looks like. Let's see, let's go over here. This is the same project in Internet Explorer. Now I have my Silverlight upload feature. And this allows me to drag and drop files. Say I have all of my sample files over here. There it is. I have all my sample data. And I can just select all of these and just drag and drop them into the Silverlight bucket, or I can browse. Show you what that looks like. I can upload more files just by clicking the browse, and then do the same thing. And then it's done. As you saw, it was rendering each of those files as they were uploaded. Now you can see a lot of buttons up here. I'm logged in this case, as a reviewer in Internet Explorer, so I have a lot more buttons available to me than you would as an applicant. And again, this is our Chrome version. You shrink the window so you can see the difference. See, as an applicant here in Chrome, I've only got move files or delete files. That's all I have available. As a reviewer, obviously, I've got a lot more functionality available to me. So now I, as an applicant, have uploaded these files. Now my task is done. So let's talk about the files themselves real quick. We have a couple of requirements here at the City of Austin. All of our files must be vector-based PDFs, and there's several reasons for that. Number one is that it makes doing the actual measuring and doing the review a lot faster and a lot simpler if they are vector-based drawings. The other requirement is that we use the National CAD Standard Naming Conventions to actually name all of the files. Again, there's a very simple reason for that, and that being that as a single file, each drawing is going to be a single sheet. So it makes the review a lot simpler if, when you upload your new files, versions 2, 3, 4, how many ever it takes, that they are named the same. And we'll show you what that looks like when we get into cycle 2. But if I, as a reviewer, look at all of these, to me, these are all version 1. And again, this is sample data, so they're not named according to the standards. But when I upload a document or a file or a drawing and it has the same name, Project Docs is smart enough to know that something's different. It's the same file name, but the data is different. There's something that changed, even if it's as simple as a period being added to the document. Project Docs will know that that's different and will create version 2. So there'll be a little V2 that appears here next to the file name. That's the other critical reason for using the National CAD Standard Naming Conventions. And those obviously would be, let's say it's an architectural floor plan. It would be ARCH-FLOR-1. And then if it was like a demolition, it would be, architectural D-floor-1, whatever the particular standard that applies to that discipline. And again, those standards are also listed on our Austin Building Connect web portal, right next to the applicant training manual. So you can download both of those and have access to those. So if this were a version 2, we could click on the history button right here and view the history of this particular document. There really isn't one right now, so we can show you that in more detail, what it looks like when there actually is something to work with. Okay, so I hope that's clear. The National CAD Standard Naming Conventions must be used to upload single sheet drawings, and they must be vector-based PDFs. All right. So now that I've actually done the work, I can open up my task again. So I accepted the task, I did the task, now I'm going to complete the task. So it's a three-step process, and it's really important that they be done in that order, because once I click Upload Complete, it says, are you sure you want to do this? Because you can't undo it. So I say, yes, I'm really done. I really did upload everything. And here's why. There are no more tasks. And your upload button goes away. So really make sure that you're done uploading before you click complete on your task, or you won't be able to upload any more files until the end of the cycle. And if you say, oh, I forgot one, you can use your team email to send a note to the plan coordinator, and then they can reopen this upload button for you. It takes a little bit more work, and basically it creates another cycle in the process, which we really don't want to do. So make sure that you have all your stuff uploaded before you click your complete button. Okay, so that task is complete. So what happens now? Well, it comes to our intake person. So right now, I've clicked, you don't have access to this, but I'm just showing this so you can get an idea of what the workflow looks like. So there's our task list. So you did your applicant upload, so it's complete. And here's when you did it and who did it. The next task in the list in the workflow is intake. So it's assigned, in this case, it's a commercial intake. So we're working on a commercial project. And right now it's in pending status, which means that intake has not yet accepted their task. So let's get intake on the phone and go, hey, intake, what's going on with my project? So I'm in Firefox now as my intake person. So I'll open up this particular project again. And there's all of my drawings. Again, intake again has different buttons than the reviewers did. They're similar, but there's a couple more that aren't there. And they have access to the upload button. They also have access to your project info and those same reports. So as intake, I'm going to now, oh, and I see a note. Let's go see what that note is. Waller Creek. Okay, Chris Applicant wrote me a note and it says, how much water is there in Waller Creek? That's a really great question. I don't know. So I can add a note. So now I've saved an answer to that previous topic, and that would create now a thread. So if I go back to my notes, I can expand this now and say there is the answer that I just created to that original topic. So intake now has a task. Say intake, there it is. Intake would open up their task. And again, this is Firefox, so I'll show you what the difference is here. Now, prerequisite reviews, there probably are several. So what intake is going to do at this point is going to look at your application in our case management system. They're going to look at all the data you supplied, all the questions that you answered, and verify that, let's say you're building a restaurant. So you've asked for a restaurant application, but your plans are for a site plan. Or maybe they are for a restaurant. That's what intake's going to do, is they're going to look and verify that the application you're applying for and the plans that you submitted actually match. So I'm going to say intake's going to look at that and say, yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. In this case, we'll say, yes, you applied for a restaurant, and here's your plans for a restaurant. Now, as I said earlier in the timeline portion of the executive overview, we're doing the buildings first. Site plans and subdivisions are coming online later in the year. So when you do your building application, if you already have an approved subdivision and site plan case, that was done in paper form, we already have that in our system. So your application should note what the previously approved case numbers are so that our reviewers can open up those cases in our case management system and find that previously approved site plan, subdivision plan. If you have a previously approved TAP plan from Austin Water, or a previously approved ESPA from Austin Energy, or your previously approved health certificate from the health department, you would upload those in your folders here in the shared documentation or submitted documents. If you have copies of them, you can submit them. If you've already submitted them for a previously approved project, note that previously approved project case number in your original application so that when it comes to our reviewers, they can see that. And we don't have to go searching for stuff. Oh, it tells me I have an e-form open already. So let me go ahead and go to my e-form. Intake approved. Now what's going to happen is intake is going to get another task for distribution. While I'm waiting for that to spoon up, let me show you one of the primary reasons why we use Internet Explorer for actually doing the reviews. So let's say I want to open up this page. It gives me a thumbnail overview of this particular drawing. I want to open it up and says, oh, I can't view this in full screen mode using Firefox. I can't view this in full screen mode using Safari or Chrome either. So it gives me this nice friendly error message that I'm using the wrong browser. That's another reason why I have 3 different browsers, just so you can see the difference in the functionality of them and why you have to use Internet Explorer. And for my reviewer sign-on, I do have that staged already for IE. So as my intake again, I'm going to start my prerequisite reviews. And this is really not something you as applicants will ever see, but I'm going to cover this really fast so you can see what the workflow kind of looks like. So here's the couple of prerequisite reviews. I'm just going to assign myself to one of these reviews. I know I'm in here somewhere. There I am. So I'm going to assign myself an ESPA, and I'm going to begin the formal review cycle. So now it's doing that. Now, intake is completed. Their work is done. They have no more tasks. So now let's go look and see what our reviewers are doing. Click on Workflow Portal, and boom, there's my review task. So now the reviewers will accept their task. They'll review your plans. And again, I'm in IE now, so I'm going to go ahead and open up this drawing. And I'm going to create a markup. So this is what you're going to see when you get your plans back. So I'm going to draw a little balloon around that. I'm going to say this is it's an architectural note. Nice patio. So there's my comment. And this is my review group, so that you'll see that when we get to our comments and all the other workflow reports that you're going to see down the road, you can see which review group wrote this comment and what their comment is. So when I click OK, now it appears over here in my change mark toolbar. And this is a sticky note, so I'm going to color it yellow. There. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now I've saved a change mark to this drawing. Click my reload button. And now we see we have a new icon that shows up here. And you will see this on your version as well when you open up your task as an applicant. You'll see that this one has a markup on it, and there's one of them. So this little red exclamation point, this red marker, red pen, with an exclamation means that there's been a change mark added to this particular file. So if you as an applicant wanted to see what that is, you just click on it. You click view. You do not have edit rights to that. But you can view it, and there it is. And you can hover over it, and it'll tell you who wrote it and when they did it. And over here in your change mark toolbar, it shows you which discipline group made the comment, who wrote it, when they did it, and then down here what the actual comment is. If I want to, I can get rid of that, and there you go. So you'll have access to that. And another nice thing, when we get to the change mark report, which I'll show you here in a second, all of those change marks will be available to you. Let's go ahead and look at change marks. So I've preloaded several combined comment reports. And this is what they're going to look like. Again, they're PDFs. And some of the controls here, and again, this is why we use Internet Explorer, is that I can zoom in using my slider bar. I can zoom out. I can fit to the page. I can zoom in. Or I can pan around if I wanted to. Let's go back to full page. So this is now your master comment report. It's called the combined comment report. And it shows you the project name, what cycle we're in, when this report was generated, who created it, and then what the project due dates are and all that kind of stuff. And it shows you which review group made the comment. It shows you that they rejected it, who that was, what their email is, and then what their comment is. Again, this is test data, so there are not a lot of comments here. But I can see down here in the bottom that there's 5 pages worth of this report. So let me just click on the next page button and see what the next one is. Again, here's the rest of those comments, and then it moves down into the actual change marks itself. Okay, this is a thumbnail sketch of the drawing that the comment was actually made on, and you see that it's white on black. Reason for that is this was submitted as a CAD drawing with a black background. Again, another reason why we require vector-based PDFs. So we have a standard drawing submittal across the board. This would have been rejected at intake if this had come in as a CAD drawing instead of a vector-based PDF. But again, for training and testing purposes, I put this in here so you guys could see the difference. So this shows you again the review group, their status of their review, who did it, and what their comment is within that drawing. And we can go to the next page and see what all of the rest of those are. And again, their different discipline group, what their status of the review is, who did it, and then what the comment is. And at the end of each cycle, this combined comment report will be pushed out to our case management system, so it's available through the public portal, not your plans. The plans won't be pushed out to the public portal until they've been stamped approved. While it's still a work in progress, the only one who can see your plans is you, your review team, or your applicant team, and all of the reviewers. So let me just go ahead and accept this review real quick. I'm just going to say rejected, complete my review. So review is completed. Okay, now intake has another task, and they're ready to send it back to you for corrections. I'm just breezing through these screens here real quick so we can get this moving. So the ESPA design was rejected, so corrections are required. Return to applicant. So now intake is completed. The reviewers have completed all of their tasks. Intake has completed their task. Cycle 1 is now complete. So now the ball is back in your court as the applicant or the applicant group. We can go back to our projects, or we can click workflow portals in this case. And now we have a new task. Okay, we can also hit reload. And we can see there's the change mark that reviewer put on our project. So we can click on that. Again, as I showed you earlier, I can view, as an applicant, you don't have edit rights. And again, I'm in Chrome, so I can't actually view that thumbnail. But here's a really nice thing, is I can open up my applicant's resubmission e-form. And again, the header information is all the same as it was before. But now we have the change mark that was created. So in addition to it showing up on the change mark report, which you can download, you actually have it here as well. And you have a thumbnail version of it. If I click on this, it's not going to happen because I'm in Chrome actually, but it should bring up a detailed view of what this looks like. So this is just an expanded view. This is not an actual change mark that you can actually move around in. That would happen here. But again, since I'm in Chrome, that function doesn't work. But if you were to use this in IE and click on this link here, the markup, it would actually take you to that actual markup itself. And this is where you actually submit your comments, your response back to the reviewer's comments. And then obviously in a very large project, there would be multiples of these, one for each comment that a particular review or review group discipline made. And if you needed to, you could export those to Microsoft Excel and save them off for later. And that would include your comments. So this, minus the drawing, would be exported to Excel. So then you've got a couple of buttons down here at the bottom. It says, yes, I have met all of the checklist items that were on my combined comment report. This particular one doesn't actually have any. But if there were checklist items, they would appear there. You addressed all the issues that were listed in the change marks, and you revised and then uploaded the drawings. Okay, I didn't upload the drawings, so let me uncheck that one. Hit save and close. Go back to my drawings folder. Different browser. Go back to my drawings folder, and now I have to upload the changed version. So I made the corrections to the drawing that the reviewers have asked of me. Now I'm uploading the correction. And you see now it's turned blue. It said the files that are highlighted in blue are version candidates. That means that Project Docs has recognized that this file name already exists, but the data in it is different than the previous version of that file. So we hit close. And there it is. Now it says V2. So now you notice that our history is also turned yellow. Just like before, in our notes section, it turned yellow when there was information that was there. Now, our history button has information in it as well. So now we can look and see that there's two different versions. We can look at version 1, or we can look at version 2. And we can look at the history. Who did it, when they did it, all that kind of good stuff. And then where they did it. Right now it's just in version 1 in the workflow. So if I wanted to, I could just look at the different versions and then open them up. Again, being Chrome, we can't do that here. But I'll show you what it looks like for the applicant or for the reviewer side here in a second. So now I'm back in my reviewers mode. Click on workflow portals. Oh, intake person. Hey, intake. The applicant has resubmitted their changes. Oh, no, you didn't. Applicant, why is that? Intake doesn't have a task. Clicking the workflow portals doesn't bring up a new task for me. Why is that? I uploaded my drawing. Oh, I still have a task. I did not complete my task. I just saved it. And that is a really key note. I hit save and close. I didn't click complete. That is going to happen more times than you're going to want to admit. That your task hasn't been completed even though you think it did because you uploaded your documents. And you're sitting there and you're waiting for the reviewers to get back to you with their revisions for cycle 2 when you haven't actually sent them to them yet. So now you have to come in and finish your task instructions and then click complete. Again, you can't undo this one. So yes, I really have uploaded version 2. I'm ready. Now your task is complete. Your task list is empty. Now if we go back to intake, say intake, what do you have? Now intake has your resubmission. Intake can look at your task and go, hey, this looks great. And then by default, it will go back to the person who previously rejected it. And then we can also add in different groups as needed. Again, this will be a collaborative environment. So if I, as one of the reviewers, says, hey, the changes I'm requesting here are going to impact this other group, I want this other group to look at it as well. I can request that that group be added. And that can happen at any point along the review process. So I click begin re-review, and now we're in cycle 2. Intake work is done, and now it's back to, close this window. Now it's back to the reviewer. The reviewer is going to re-accept their task. They're going to redo the review, note any changes or corrections that you've made on version 2. So I can show you what that looks like from a reviewer's standpoint. Oh, wrong button. You say, oh, there's the correction I asked them to make. And here's another really key point. The reason that we're asking for single file sheets is that if we ask you to change one thing on one page, the only thing you have to resubmit for version 2 is that one page. You don't have to resubmit the entire package. Saves you a lot of time, and it saves the reviewers a lot of time from having to look back through all these other pages to see what's changed in the new submittal. So I, as a reviewer, can now come in here and I can go to compare mode, and then I can compare the drawings. I can look at them side by side, and just with an eyeball I can see, yeah, there's quite a bit of differences in version 1 here on the left and version 2 here on the right. There is quite a lot of differences. But I don't really have the time to eyeball every single one of these little things, because this is a big drawing. So I'm just going to put it in compare mode. And it's going to overlay the differences for me, which is really nice. So just at a glance, I can tell what's changed. The red stuff is stuff that was deleted. The green stuff is stuff that's been added since the last drawing. And obviously this is the same floor plan, but it looks a little off. So as a reviewer, I can just nudge it a little bit to kind of get it to line up a little bit better. And then all the changes kind of go away. So I'm left with this big green thing here. Okay, maybe that's what I asked them to add. Great. And I asked them to delete the stuff here in the red. Awesome. Everything else is gray. This is a little bit off, but I can tell for the most part that, yeah, if I want to zoom in here real quick, I can tell that you know, the names here may have been just printed off just a wee bit, but everything else looks the same. So yes, they've changed what I asked them to do, and they deleted what I asked them to delete. So perfect, we're good to go. I'm going to approve this drawing. So what happens is, I as a reviewer, I'll approve this review. It'll go back to the case coordinator or the intake person, and they will batch stamp the approved drawing. So we have one of those here already. And I'm in Internet Explorer, so you can actually see what it looks like. This is just one page. So let me go ahead and stamp it. There you go. So now we have an approved drawing. Do a refresh. It'll just take a second to process. So I can look at version 2 and see, yep, there's something different down here at the bottom. There's my approved stamp. Now what we're asking for again as part of our standard is to leave this part of the drawing blank so that this City of Boston stamp, and I chose a black and white one because we're in the test environment, but this in actuality will be a live full color approved stamp with the date on it. So we're asking that you leave this 3x3 section here in the bottom of the sheet blank so we can put this stamp on that and it won't overlay any of this necessary material. So that's it. Your plans have been approved. You'll get an email from the system that says, hey, your plans have been approved. Please come in and download them. So that's what this button is for here. It's the download. Now, if you have multiple sheets, you can click this button up here to download everything. It'll select everything and then you just download them all together at the same time. Or if you wanted to, you could just download individual sheets here on this section. Again, I'm logged in as a reviewer, so I have a lot more buttons that will be available to me as the reviewer that you as an applicant wouldn't have. So you can see what those look like if we go back to the applicant login. Do a refresh. So then you can click your download button and you can download them together as a single file, or if there's multiple files, it will automatically ask if you want them downloaded into a zip file, and it'll do that for you. And you just save it wherever you want to. Now you're ready to go build it. So you've downloaded your approved stamped plans. You come in, you get your permit, or you go online and then pay for your permits online. Get your permits emailed to you, or just print them off right there from Austin Build and Connect, and then go build it. And then go back to your Austin Build and Connect to request your inspections, and then the inspectors will come out. They'll look at their version of the approved plans on their tablet. They'll approve you, get your certificate of occupancy, and you're good to go. So that in a nutshell is e-plan review. I know it was a lot of information. It was really fast. But again, I will mention that we do have a lot of resources that are going to be available to you on the Austin Build and Connect portal. So you can go there and you can download the applicant training handbook. You can download the overview of the discipline names and the abbreviations for those disciplines. They're fairly intuitive, so it should be obvious. And then you can also download the list of the National CAD Standard Naming Conventions that we're going to be using here in Austin. If you have any other questions, you can go to our help desk portal, development services, send us an email through there, or you can email us directly at eplanssupport@austintexas.gov. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been beneficial for you. If you do have any comments or questions that you still have that are not answered either in our FAQs and our development portal, or on the quick reference cards that are available here on our Awesome Building Connect site. Send us an email and we'll be happy to help you out.